Everyone, welcome to the Springfield Township Board of Trustee meeting. It is July 8th, 2014, approximately 5:33 p.m. Could we please have the roll call, Mr. Burney?
Yes, Mr. Honolulu. Mr. Burney?
Present.
Ms. McFarland?
Present.
Mr. Honolulu?
Present.
All trustees are present.
I would ask that everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a couple special recognitions here before we start our regular business meeting this evening. And the first is I would like to turn over to Mike Hennenkamp, our Township Administrator, a presentation regarding the FBI National Academy graduation recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Honolulu. As you mentioned, we've got kind of two. Tonight's kind of our police recognition night. And happy to report that last month, Chief Heinpolt and myself had the opportunity to attend the graduation ceremony of Lieutenant Colonel Rick Bly from the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. The FBI National Academy is a professional 10-week course of study for leaders and managers of state and local law enforcement agencies, sheriff departments, military, police, federal law enforcement agencies from across the United States, and also internationally with over 150 partner nations. Participation in this elite training program is by invitation only through a nomination process and is at no direct cost to the sponsoring agency, which of course in this case would be Springfield Township. The mission of the FBI National Academy, which began in 1935, is to support, promote, and enhance the personal and professional development of law enforcement leaders by preparing them for complex, dynamic, and contemporary challenges through innovative techniques, facilitating excellence in education and research, and forging partnerships throughout the world. During each session, approximately 250 students from all over the world take undergraduate and graduate courses in the areas of behavioral science, forensic science, terrorism, leadership development, communications, law, health, and fitness. Lieutenant Colonel Bly's achievement was a little outside the normal required process, and he had to overcome a number of serious challenges and obstacles, many of which, as I mentioned, were not typical of what most graduates have to face in this program. Not only was he required to be away from home and his family for 10 weeks to complete the rigorous National Academy curriculum, but due to some on-site construction and unforeseen problems at the facility, he and his classmates had multiple days and unscheduled periods where they had no running water, they had no air conditioning, and lack of cafeteria services, I think, to name a few. I think there were some others that we probably won't mention here. In addition, Lieutenant Colonel Bly also was originally selected to attend the Academy, as the board remembers, in the fall of 2013 session of the National Academy, and I believe was on site, Rick, for about a week or 10 days when we had the federal government shutdown. And so after some period of time awaiting, hoping that it would be resolved, and it wasn't, all the attendees were sent home and had to be scheduled for a future class. So as you can see, his graduation required a great deal of personal discipline, perseverance, and commitment. So at this time, and on behalf of the board, I'd certainly like to congratulate Lieutenant Colonel Rick Bly, who on June 13th, 2014, became the latest graduate of the 255th session of the FBI National Academy. But in addition, I'd also like to recognize another really, I think, quite unique and really, quite honestly, an amazing accomplishment for Springfield Township and, of course, for the Springfield Township Police Department that has been achieved. According to the FBI, only 1% of law enforcement leaders throughout the country have the opportunity to actually go to the FBI and graduate from the National Academy. Rick, however, becomes the fourth member of the Springfield Township Police Department's command staff to have achieved this goal, and we're very fortunate to have our other graduates, starting with Colonel Dave Heimpolt, Chief Dave Heimpolt, who graduated from the 133rd session. We won't mention what year that was, Dave, but you do the math. I'm pretty sure that wasn't 122 years, though. I think they have more than one session per. They had a couple sessions per year, so we won't do that math. But also Lieutenant Colonel Rob Browder, who graduated from the 227th session, and Lieutenant Dave Schaefer, who graduated from the 203rd session. So we're very, very fortunate that while most agencies, like I said, less than 1% nationally, and here we are in Springfield Township, we're close to 10% in one department, which I think is an amazing achievement and really a testament to the quality of work and professionalism we have in our department. So really that's it, Joe. I'd like to turn it over and recognize our four graduates, obviously their most recent, and Rick Bly, but the other three alumni members as well.
Exactly. Well, let's give a big round of applause for these guys. You were clapping for each other. Yeah. No, it is quite an accomplishment, and we're proud of all of you for everything that you've done. Not only the instruction that you get there, but the contacts you make with other law enforcement leaders throughout the country, and it is quite an achievement. I don't imagine there are many other police departments in America of our size that have had as many people in our command staff go through the FBI Academy, and it's something that we're very proud of. It's just another one of the ways that we in Springfield Township try and be the best leaders we can to provide the best services that we can to our citizens in the most efficient and professional way. So we're very proud of all of you.
Are you going to give a speech, Rick?
No speech tonight.
We just appreciate the support allows us to participate in that program. It's going to help us out personally and professionally. So.
Absolutely.
And you're positive role models for your peers as well. So that's good. When I look at all of you, and you look at the leadership that you have brought to the township, and then how your other peers view you as well, it's a prestigious, aware, and honor to be recognized.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Chief, you got anything you want to add?
Men of few words.
Take a picture.
It's great that the trustees support the police department. It is a major undertaking to send somebody back, but the reward that they come back to the township in the form of the excellent leadership that is developed in the DNA, paid dividends for years, and it'll help keep Springfield Township at the top of the all national. We've always had a great reputation, being nationally accredited and having four NA grads in your command staff just is a major feat to accomplish. And Rick and Dave and even Rob, it is tough work. And it's just not by no means is a vacation, despite all the extras that are on the Rick's trip. You're gone for 10, 11 weeks. Your families, here, you're there, and to Rick's credit, his wife had to take care of the kids and everything else. I just don't. I can come home every weekend or every night. So it's a great accomplishment to get all the successful graduates program.
Exactly. And it's more than just, from what I understand, it's more than just attending classes. There's homework and you're just tests, and you're just pretty much immersed in the whole curriculum the entire time. Isn't that the truth, guys? Yep. Tell you what, let's go down, and Kim, we take a picture. We got all these illustrious graduates here. Okay, next on our agenda, continuing on with our police theme, we have a Police Explorers recognition this evening, and we have quite a few of our police explorers here in the audience. Chief Heimpole, would you please lead us through that?
Thank you, Mr. Hunnewell. Back in 1994, the Springfield Township Police Department, in conjunction with the Boy Scouts of America, Learn for Life, formed Post 90, the Springfield Township Police Department Explorer Post. This program is designed for young adults between the ages of 14 to 21 who have an interest in learning more about careers in law enforcement. Our post meets weekly, and the members of our post learn and train in law enforcement issues, designed to provide experienced leadership opportunities and community service activities. Members of our Explorer program are trained in all areas of law enforcement and compete both locally and nationally, displaying their skills and expertise that they have developed. Since the inception of our program, over 140 young men and women have participated in Post 90. Over 25% of our explorers have moved on to full-time law enforcement careers in both local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. In fact, Springfield Township Police Department has hired over a dozen former explorers as police officers with our department. This year, our Explorer Post has competed in several competitions, and this group of young men and women have been extremely successful in competitions and have represented Springfield Township in a very positive manner. In May, the members of Post 90 competed in the 40th annual Southwest Ohio Regional Explorer Competition against 18 other posts in Ohio, Kentucky, and New York. After 2 days of intense competition, our post finished in third place overall. Specifically, they received second place in traffic stops, second place in crisis negotiations, first place in critical incident response. Individually, David Foley placed first in the Top Gun firearm simulator, and Ben Kemper took first place in the physical agility obstacle course. Last month, between the week of June 9th and 14th, 3 of our explorers went to the Kentucky Law Enforcement Academy in Louisville, Kentucky. During that week, they had classroom training all day, participated in practical scenarios. At the end of the week, there was an optional 5K run in which all 3 of our explorers participated in. There were a total of 73 explorers in this academy: Kentucky, Ohio, Illinois, West Virginia, Tennessee, and Missouri, which were split into 3 companies. Ben Kemper was elected to be the company commander for the Charlotte Company, and David Foley was selected to be on the honor guard. On Friday night at the award ceremony, there were 10 individual awards presented where our explorers brought back 4 out of the 10 awards. Andrew Kemper received Top Shot and Top Performer in Arrest, Search, and Seizure. Ben Kemper took the Top Driver and Leadership Award. Later this month, Post 90 will again be competing in the National Explorer Competition in Indianapolis with hundreds of Explorer posts from across the United States. I'm confident, once again, they will represent Springfield Township and Springfield Township Police Department in the highest manner possible. I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognize Post Sergeant Scott Hughes and Officer Jim Sheeler, who are the current post advisors for our Explorer program. Over the past 20 years, our Explorer program is one of the most successful programs in the nation, which is due in a large part to the officers who are and have been post advisors, and to all the officers of our department that have assisted in the training, ride-along program for our explorers. I just wanted to take the opportunity to recognize them for a job well done, and we're quite sure that they'll represent nationally in the same manner they have been over the years.
Thank you, Chief. I think, again, the achievements that our Explorer Post has been able to accomplish is just indicative of the kind of leadership that we have in the police department and the outstanding work that our officers have done with these young men and women in showing them the kind of roles, the kind of careers that they can have in law enforcement. We've been very proud. Our department, this isn't like the first time that they've scored high. I mean, traditionally,
We won best post overall in local and state competitions in the past. It's just really designed for provide great interaction between young adults and police officers. And, you know, the kids that come through our program represent us very well. When they go to school and, you know, they're representing us in a positive manner to their friends and peers. And I think it's you know, not only a great public relations tool and a great recruiting tool. And we've actually provided, like I said, you know, over 30, 40 guys, men and women that have gone on to law enforcement careers. You know, our scores are well recognized, and when they turn 21, they get certified, they're highly sought after. And, you know, when we don't have openings, they're grabbed up by, you know, other agencies.
Absolutely. Well, I think I'd like to actually invite all the explorers forward to recognize them, and of course, Officer Hughes and Sheila, you come forward too, because these guys, they spend an awful lot of their time, you know, besides all their other police duties, in being leaders to these, you know, to these explorers and helping them set the framework so they can have the kind of achievements that they have.
I think we've had a couple explorers who also received their Eagle Scout badge, too, that was in this group. Yes.
Here we go,
Two.
back here.
Yes.
Okay.
Dave. Read their names. Sheila, you just don't know them? Hey, Scott.
Yes.
You know my new name. Can you read their names? We're gonna put Jim on the spot there, Joe, and let him name each of his.
Yes, absolutely.
The first explorer that has been here the longest and is the chief of our post would be Malik Clark. Malik is actually getting ready to leave us here this year and to attend the academy at Butler Tech.
Wow.
Our next explorer would be Andrew Kemper. He also is getting ready to leave us this year to attend the academy at Butler Tech. He was one of the explorers that attended the Kentucky Leadership Academy down in Kentucky and was able to bring home 2 of the 4 awards.
That's awesome.
In the back, we have Cameron Roberts. He's just recently joined with our post. He's actually the son of Officer Burt Roberts, and he is going to be attending the National Academy in Bloomington this year. Next, we have our sergeant of the post, Aaron Berg. He's been with us for approximately 3 years. He is in the junior ROTC, and he also is got 3 more years with us, and he'll be attending the Bloomington National Academy this year with us. Next, we have Sam Kemper, and he has joined us last year, and Sam will also be attending Bloomington this year with us. Next, we have David Foley. He was one of the explorers that attended the Kentucky Leadership Academy. He also is a Eagle Scout. He completed that last year, and he will be attending Bloomington with us this year. And the last, we have Mason Siebel, who recently joined us this past year, and hopefully will be leading us in one of our competitions next year at locals. So.
Very good.
I put him on the spot.
Very good. That's right. All right. It'd be hard to follow up on that. We appreciate all the hard work and dedication to all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. All right. With that, Mr. Hennenkamp, getting on to, Mr. Burning, our fiscal officer. Do we have a financial report?
Yes, we do, Mr. Honolaw. For the month ending June 30th, 2014, the township expenditures were $1,755,282.09, and receipts were $736,099.26. The ending cash balance of $15,953,000 includes obligations for expenditures, payrolls, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. I request a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue, and reports for the period ending 6/30/2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And I just want everyone to know that financial reports are available for viewing at the administration offices weekdays during our regular business hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Next, moving on to departmental action and discussion items. Mr. Hennenkamp, you have a report for us.
I do, Mr. Honolaw. 4 action items, the first of which is to seek the board's authorization to allow me to enter into a school resource officer with the Mount Healthy School District. This is an agreement that we've had for a number of years. There are no changes to this agreement, so basically the terms are as it has been and very similar to what we just recently did at our last meeting with the Finneytown School District. But this allows us to place a school resource officer in Mount Healthy and sets the terms as to how Mount Healthy compensates us for that. So again, no change, just pretty much a continuance of the agreement that's been in place for the last few years.
Do we have a motion to authorize our township administrator to sign the agreement on behalf of the township?
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item is need a motion from the board to actually transfer sort of the funds that we're going to receive this year from community development block grant monies from one project to another. Originally, and as the board understands, we're currently in the final year for community development block grants of the 3-year funding cycle that they go through. We make application for a number of projects. They evaluate them. It's a competitive process for all the entities throughout the county, and then they give their awards in yearly amounts in a 3-year cycle. So back when we originally got these funds back in 2000, it was actually awarded probably in 2011 for the years 12, 13, and 14. We had requested we had requested more, but actually we had allocated $44,000 for improvements to Huffman Court. Unfortunately, that project no longer qualifies due to some of the requirements under CDBG for income levels for the individuals in that particular area. So what we're looking to do is take the monies from Huffman Court, apply them to 4 different streets in the Skyline Acres community. That would be for Sirius, Morningstar, Polaris, and Aquarius. Would be the four streets. So it's just basically putting the $44,000 so we can do the projects in a different area that do in fact qualify. And this happens from time to time. Huffman may have qualified then, it doesn't now, as people move in and out. It's one of the factors that you run into. So just need a motion to authorize that basically transfer of projects for the $44,000.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item is, we have a liquor permit transfer from Cy Vishnu Incorporated, doing business as Vine Street BP, to the Mushka LLC, also at that same location, as I mentioned, just a transfer. Chief, I don't believe there's any objections to that transfer.
No objections? No. Do we have a motion authorizing our fiscal officer to send the appropriate correspondence to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control?
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the final item, action item I have, is to request that the board add 2 approved caterers for a grow facility to our approved caterers list. The first is Takara Mercado at 108th Street, and the second is Buca de Pepo at 2635 Edmondson Road.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just under discussion items, just wanted to remind the board and the public that we do have our tax budget, the 2015 tax budget public hearing scheduled for July the 23rd. That is a Wednesday, and that public hearing will take place at 5:30 here in the Allen Paul Community Room. And also wanted to inform the board and actually let the Chief Leininger speak on this. We were successful in getting some grant dollars through the Ohio Division of EMS. Chief, you want to talk about the award of that grant?
Yes, thank you. Each year, we apply for this grant through the Ohio Department of EMS. It's actually Public Safety Division of EMS. And it's intended to be used for equipment used in emergency medical services as well as training. 15 years ago, the grant awards were in the amount of approximately $20,000. And we were able to train a lot of our EMTs to go to paramedic schools and advance their education. Unfortunately, because of budget cuts and other fundings reductions, these grants now are, the grant that we were awarded this year was $2,500. So, you know, we appreciate it, we value it, we will put it to good use, but unfortunately, these grants are declining in availability. But we look for every opportunity we can to get grant funding. We apply, and this one we'll put to good use. And it will be intended to replace equipment in our training division, which are CPR mannequins and some of the mannequins that we use for intubation practice and so on, and then also for training.
Thank you, Chief.
Another issue that for discussion and actually for kind of direction, there was a resident petition that was actually dropped off to the police department by a township resident asking for the board to take some type of action to restrict or eliminate motorcycle noise. The petition was signed, I believe, by 16 residents on Deputy Drive, and specifically sort of referred to motorcycle noise on cross-county highway. In, you know, just doing a little bit of research, and I think as the board's aware, noise is a pretty difficult thing to restrict. Our ability to, even take some action in that area under the law and be able to craft something that would be lawful, number one, would be difficult, maybe not impossible, but I think without question, you know, having any effective enforcement or real value in being able to do that, to stop the noise for a number of different reasons, would be nearly impossible. Obviously, you're talking about something that's moving quick, it's transient, so, you know, by the time somebody heard it, it's out of our territory and probably gone from our jurisdiction and even being able to track it. And then even if you witnessed it, you know, firsthand, where there was been an officer there, be able to, you know, to take some action, the ability to measure that noise, the ability to even quantify in your law what level of noise actually exceeds an acceptable level would be, like I said, I don't know how you would do it. I've talked to Laura about it, you know, briefly, and it'd be very difficult to try to do. So I guess in bringing this forward, we did receive it, just looking for direction on the board as if there's something that you want us to try to pursue on this petition. I think we all understand it's annoying, and, I understand what they're speaking of. I think we all hear them, especially late at night sometimes, where, whether they're racing them or they're opening them up, or, motorcycles.
Or people will be out there with straight pipes and
Well,
that kind of thing.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can hear them, so
Yeah.
I understand the frustration and
Right.
the issue. I just
I
don't
think-
know if there's really going to be an effective means for us to be able to do anything about it.
I mean, there,
Laura, you researched this some years ago, I
we
know.
did, and we have a noise resolution, and we've mainly dealt with. We did
Fixed.
off-road noise because of this issue with vehicles, and we do it from businesses and things like that. But the issue really is, you can do it, you have to do it based on a decibel level.
Right,
So we have to buy
right.
equipment to measure that decibel level. The state statute that allows for regulation has based on speed, so we have to know what speed the person was driving when they did it, because the decibel level changes based on the speed of the vehicle. So that's difficult. It ends up being the same sort of problem we have with parked cars, because they can be moved, it's a transient violation, you have to catch them. It tends to end up being more time and money than it ever is worth, because you rarely solve the problem.
What amazes me is they actually put stuff on there to make them as loud as they possibly can. I mean, they're buying aftermarket to make them. I know Harleys are loud anyway, but they're actually putting stuff on there to make it as annoying as possible.
It seems to me the best and the opportunity would be if they were speeding, because you could legitimately clock somebody, for speeding. But you can't do both of this at the same time, measuring the decibels and, catching them for speeding at the same time. And then when you look at the fact that coming from Mount Healthy down to Springfield Township and then into the city of Cincinnati, that's a short period of time. It's about 2 miles or 3 miles?
You'd have to have an officer on.
You'd have to,
County
right.
To have any chance of
It's
catching.
equipment we don't currently have.
Dedicated
You'd have,
officer
I mean,
there.
you'd probably have to
Yeah.
have two, because you'd have to have an officer to figure out the speed.
Right.
Because if they're going above a certain speed, the decibel gets to be a higher level. So you have to have two people there measuring, you have to have the equipment, you have to train. And then you may never catch the person.
Right.
You're not going to do a pursuit of someone for a noise violation, you would be permitted under a pursuit policy to do that. So
Well,
it is a
I-
difficult problem. and
I think to
sympathize.
summarize all this then is, while we're sympathetic to the complaints of loud motorcycles and the noise, it's not something we really have the ability or the resources to, ameliorate.
You could spend a lot of time and money and not accomplish anything.
Right.
basically.
I mean, I think that's the effectiveness of, okay, so you do it, are you really going to be, are you really going to be effective, and are you really going to eliminate the problem? Reasonably, no.
Right. Right.
Given the nature of what we're talking about. I mean, we'd be, I can continue to research and try to find what other communities have done. I don't think there's going to be anything different than what Laura says, but
No.
we'll do that. But I just wanted to make sure that, if there's other direction the board wants us to go, that we do that.
Well, I think given our current staffing levels and, vacancies that we've had in the department, through injuries and attrition and other things, and just the calls for service, we couldn't devote the kind of round-the-clock officers it would take to do this. There wouldn't be a good cost versus reward benefit, ratio there. So, again, it's one of those things, we have people that come to us sometimes and ask for things, and we can agree with the request and say, yes, it would be nice if people, wouldn't do what they do, but sometimes it's extremely hard, and it's beyond really our ability to enforce or police. All right. What else do we have, Mr. Hennenkamp?
Just had the personnel update in our admin department. Kim Cox joined us as a finance coordinator effective June the 16th. We've talked along many meetings about some of the issues we're having with staffing in the police department, so I'm happy to report we have hired Elliot Holmes as a full-time police officer effective date of June 16th. Tricia Fuller is a part-time police officer effective June 23rd, and Kevin Woodruff is a part-time police officer also effective June 23rd. And we have added Trevin Wilson and Richard Bro to our summer help staff. Trevin Wilson effective June 12th and Richard Bro effective June 16th. And just ask Kim to bring us up to date with what's going on with community events and programs.
Thank you. I have an exciting announcement, one that's we've been waiting on for quite some time, but the Springfield Township Arts and Enrichment Council is finally officially a 501c3.
Yay!
It took about a year and a half for that status to come through, but it is official. As far as community events go, we have our Touch a Truck event this Friday, and it's going from 11 to 1 p.m. We have, I think I'm up to 54 vehicles in this particular event. And we're excited. We're expecting a fairly large crowd for that this Friday. And then the Arts and Enrichment Council is hosting their dinner theater event. The next one is July the 25th. And we have worked out a unique arrangement with AARP. They are offering our event as a member benefit. So all AARP members are able to get tickets for $10 off the cost. So instead of $35, is there $25? And then they are reimbursing the Arts Council for the additional $10 per ticket to be made whole. And then just last but not least, we are right now looking for artists for our annual art show, which is in September. That's all I have.
Okay. Kim, thank you very much.
John, the board has copies of the departmental activity reports, so
Yes.
unless there's a question, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Trenenkamp. Next, moving on with our agenda, we have board resolutions. The first resolution that we have before the board tonight is Resolution Number 54, 2014, authorizing the sale by internet auction of vehicles forfeited to Springfield Township pursuant to Section 4503.233E1 of the Ohio Revised Code, which are no longer needed for public use, are obsolete or unfit for use in the police department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 55, 2014, authorizing the private sale of vehicles forfeited to Springfield Township pursuant to Section 4503.233E1 of the Ohio Revised Code, which are no longer needed for public use, are obsolete or unfit for use in the police department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 56, 2014, authorizing the private sale of motor vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to Revised Code Section 4513.61 and Revised Code Section 4513.62, and which are not needed or unfit for use in the police department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have old business. Does anyone have any old business before the board tonight?
No, I have no old business.
Under new business, do we have any new business?
I would just like to let the Springfield Township community become aware that yesterday there was a meeting with the county commissioners, and in that meeting, it appears that in November, we're going to have an indigent care and family services levy on the ballot. It's a levy that will stay flat, which means it will not raise taxes for the individuals in our community. The indigent care levy has been around since 1966. I think it was in 1966 that it was initially initiated, and that was when the general hospital was, quote, general hospital. Now, the general hospital is called the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, and has been very renowned in being one of the leading trauma centers here, not only here, but also in this region. So there's always been a concern that the indigent, medically and financially, didn't have a place to go before 1966. None of the other hospitals stepped forward at that particular time to take care of the individuals that needed that service. So the levy has been really, I think the money has been well utilized. There have been audits that pretty clearly indicate there's been no abuse of the levy dollars. Then in 1976, Children's Hospital came on board, became a partner with University of Cincinnati Medical College Hospital as well. So again, as you can see, we've got some highly respected, managed hospitals that are part of the levy, providing a really well-deserved service here in the county. And the reason they're able to stay flat, basically, is because when you look at the fact that in Ohio, we have the Medicaid expansion process now, as well as the Affordable Health Care Act has kicked in, so the levy will be for 3 years and not for 5 years as it has in the past. And the reason it's going to be for 3 years is to give some settling in, a process of time to settle in and kind of look at the impact that the Medicaid expansion has on the care in the county, as well as the Affordable Health Care Act. So that's something that I think everyone should be aware of. Just wanted to give you a heads up. The meeting was well attended yesterday. And also there's been some discussion about proposed sales tax, looking at the needs of the Cincinnati Union Terminal and also Cincinnati Music Hall. As most folks are aware of, those two buildings are historical buildings. They're old. They have a lot of work that needs to be done on them. So there's been some discussion whether to have a 25-cent tax added to help with the expansion and renovation of those facilities. So there are going to be several public meetings, and the meetings will look at, do you want it or do you not want it? So it's those who are for it and those who are against it. So the first meeting they had is tonight, and it started at 6 o'clock. Then there's going to be another meeting Wednesday, July the 23rd at the Sharonville Convention Center, and then a third meeting on July the 28th at the County Commissioner's hearing room. So just want to give everyone an update of upcoming events that are coming, so that when you hear about them in the news, at least you perhaps heard it for the first time here, and this will also give you some time to think about it and see where you fall in that area. So that's all I have as far as new business.
0.25%.
0.25%, yeah, sorry, I said 25 cents,
Yeah.
but 0.25%.
0.25%.
Right,
Cents or whatever. yeah.
cents, right,
We'll scare people.
yeah.
One thing I did have under new business, and this involves the fire department, is we had a number of old computers in the fire department, Chief. I think I was told they were, pushing 10 years old.
Correct.
And you found out through St. X that St. X had a number of newer computers that they were going to get rid of, and they agreed to donate them to Springfield Township. And with a little bit of upgrading, we've been able to replace the old computers that we have in the township with the ones from St. X, and be able to extend the life of computers in the township. And I want to, commend you, Chief, on doing that. That's just one of the many ways that we're looking for, innovative ways to stretch our tax dollars as far as we can in all aspects of the township. And I want to also publicly thank St. X for agreeing to donate the computers to us. And it's my understanding that it's working out well.
It is. It's worked out great. We've had to rebuild them, and that involves, they already had a faster operating system inside with better RAM and bigger hard drives and those kind of things. But we had to do some internal upgrading to accommodate. Now we're running Windows 7, where before we had, a slower operating system and things like that. So it just gives us greater capability. And it saves us about $300 per machine if we went out and bought new. So
Right.
we're looking to be good stewards of our tax dollar and look for every opportunities we can to save where we can. And so it was a win-win. You know, the St. X were able to take it off the surplus computers off their hands, and we took them and did some refurbishment in-house, and we're putting them to good use.
All right, very good, Chief. Thank you.
Joe, I just mentioned, all told, we got 26, and there's probably 19 within the next few weeks that we'll have put into service, not just in fire, but throughout all of the departments. And overall, I mean, it's not a humongous savings, but it's $6,000.
Right.
Probably give or take somewhere in that range, because there is some upgrading that we have to do, but all told, we know we can get 5-7 years out of them, and it saves us $5,000-6,000. So, you know, it's a very generous offer by St. X and another way to try to maximize dollars everywhere we can.
Exactly. Well, again, we thank St. X for their generosity in helping the township.
Oh, I have one more thing. Our community in Springfield Township, you know, around the county, there's always discussions about the great work that we're doing here in the township and the leadership that we have here in the township and the different diverse communities that we have. So we were a community that was profiled this past month, community profile, which outlined some of the assets and the attributes that we have here and the leadership that we have here in the township as well. So we got a profile, community profile.
Where was it profiled?
By the county commissioners, Monzel.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Gwen. Okay. All right. With that, we're to the citizens' participation part of our meeting. This is the part of the meeting where anyone who would like to come forward and address the board concerning any issues that might be pertinent to the trustees may do so. I would ask that you step up to the podium, state your name and address, and that everyone else remain quiet so we can hear what the speaker has to say. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I was going to come to the last meeting because I was a judge in election and I've seen your employees lobbying.
Can you state your name and address?
Yes, Dr. Vlasta Molak, 8987 Cotillion Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45231. At your last meeting, in June 10, I was going to come because as a judge in election, I've seen senior citizens giving misinformation to people who were coming to vote, and many of them were so confused that they ended up either not voting or voting for the Jeds, which wouldn't have happened if you didn't have your employees standing there at 3 o'clock and if you didn't have the senior citizens scared and standing there the whole day, basically misinforming voters about the Jeds issue. However, at that meeting, which I didn't attend because I was busy with other stuff, you had pronounced my house a nuisance. And doesn't look good, you know, to be told that my house is a nuisance. As I told you last year, the same thing happened because somebody who works for you here and who is paid from my taxpayers' money had decided to enforce arbitrary standards of what goes. I've been living in my house since April 7, 1982. That's over 32 years. It's over half of my life. I've raised 3 children that went to Finneytown High School. One of my children got got inducted into Finneytown Hall of Fame. Another one is a partner in Oldman Burn. Another one is a business person. And it doesn't look good to have a mom who is considered a delinquent not mowing her grass. I mow my grass in front of the house with push mower because I'm into sustainability and I have reduced my CO2 emissions to 0. I bike everywhere. I live off the grid, so when you said about those FBI trainees, living without running water and electricity, that's nothing. I've been doing it since June 9th, 2009. And I'm transforming my house to collect solar energy that falls on my house. I have been collecting my rainwater, and therefore I don't contribute to storm sewer overflow, which is going to cost consumers $4 billion. MSD had already wasted $500 million because of mismanagement, gross mismanagement, and cronyism in that project. I was out of town last week. My child got married in New York. I came home on Tuesday afternoon, this last Tuesday afternoon on July 2nd. I had to go to resolve my real estate tax issue because my house was, again, the same way, put for the second time to the sheriff's sale because I have a dispute with the county about their valuation of my house, and Mr. Burning knows about it because he had done a professional evaluation and agreed with my assessment rather than theirs. But when I took them to the state Board of Revisions, they threw his report out because he wasn't there present. So I'm planning now a class action suit on behalf of probably half of the homeowners in Hamilton County against the county and the state for inflating our real estate taxes coinciding with building of $1 billion stadiums in 2000, because that's when the valuation on our houses suddenly increased. They have now rectified it 2 years ago, but they wouldn't budge on my house, and I think it's a personal issue in violation of my First Amendment and Fourth Amendment. On Wednesday afternoon, when I came home, I found out that somebody had broken in my backyard, mowed over my ivy, over my clover, destroyed 5 sapling trees, and stolen my building materials, which I was planning to use in 2 weeks to replace part of the leaking roof with the glass doors so that I could collect the passive solar energy. I've called the police, filed the report, and I told him that it was probably done by one of your employees who didn't like that I didn't obey him with the cutting grass, because I explained to him that I like the weeds in the back because they're providing screen for my compost pile. I'm composting everything. I don't have any garbage. I recycle everything and I compost the rest. Now this ugly compost pile is there because this beautiful screen of wildflowers is gone because some moron had mowed over my ivy and over my wildflowers and over my trees and stolen my property. There were 17 glass doors. There were staircase, wooden staircase. There was a huge window, and there were floor panels. There were 10 floor panels of 10 by 4 feet. Now, unless I get these building materials back within 2 weeks, I'm going to sue Springfield Township for theft and trespassing and violating my Fourth Amendment. I take democracy very seriously. I was in Washington 3 times this last spring, on my way to India and my way back and once before, to observe Congress in action. I was a congressional fellow in 1999 working on sustainability issues. I worked for U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, I worked for NIOSH. I wanted to help you guys cut on your water costs, but I could never get the information that I had requested from your managers regarding your water bills and your electricity bills. So we are now going to do this demonstration project in our daily bread. But we could have cut your costs, but you're not interested in cutting the costs because you're interested in raising the tax on the girls who work in Brugger, who are very upset about it because you'll be taking from their payroll tax starting August 1. For what? Your employees don't have enough to do, so they harass citizens like me, long-term citizens. I think it's not right, and I told you, the Fourth Amendment says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. My building material has been seized, and that's a violation of my constitutional rights. So unless those building materials are returned to me within 2 weeks, I'm going to sue you, and I'll get enough citizens who will join in that suit because they're not very happy with what has happened these last couple of years. I think you have too many employees. I've been observing it since I often sit in the Brugger's and I see what's going on. So I'm pleading with you to return my building materials and to stop insisting that my grass has to be certain lengths in my backyard. It doesn't disturb anybody. Also, my property goes all the way down, so they were not consistent. They should have then mowed also all the way down. So why did they just mow the upper yard? And my ivy will recover. My trees are dead. They won't recover. I was going to plant them next spring. And it now looks ugly because my compost pile is visible now. And my backyard, I have a hammock in my backyard. I like to read there. And, I had these wildflowers, and just because somebody says that my grass is too high, and they don't like that I live off the grid or whatever, and collect my rainwater, my property has been seized, and I feel violated. I'm going to put a lock on my backyard, so if anybody comes there, it will be breaking.
Did you receive a notice that was?
Yes, I did. I mowed my grass.
You received a notice before.
I did, but I was very busy with this county business, and also I was out of town.
Actually, ma'am, you've received notices for over a year from the township regarding this building material, the weeds in your yard, and all the other violations of the law that you've committed at your place. And you
This
have
is not law.
You have ignored. Well, wait a minute. Let me talk. I've listened to you.
Yes.
And you have ignored every notice, every request to clean up your yard. And so what you've done is you forced the other people of the township to have to pay money, public money, to clean up the mess you've created. If you violate the law, and I saw pictures of your yard, there were not wildflowers, there were nothing but weeds and a bunch of old junk windows and building debris thrown up against the back of your house. That kind of activity is a violation of the law. You've been told for over a year you need to do something about it. You refuse to, even to the point where one of our employees went to Brugger's and sought you out to say, we're coming to clean.
I was out of town.
No, they came and talked to you and they said, you clean this up because we're coming to do it. If you don't, we're going to have to. In the end, we were forced to do that. And the reality is you have to realize the law applies to everybody. You're talking about your foreclosure. I was told you don't pay your real estate taxes. That's what happens when people don't pay their real estate taxes.
Because the county is lying. The auditor is lying about the valuation.
Well, it is.
Well,
you have a $17,000 tax arrearage.
no, it's not. It's 13,000.
Thir-
But that's because they put all kinds of fines and foreclosure costs. And I went through this process 4 years ago, and I went to Sheriff Leeson, and he told me to sue them in a federal court because the municipal court is foregone conclusion. Their salaries are paid out of those real estate taxes and out of the sale taxes. So they have a conflict of interest, so hopefully the federal court is not going to have this conflict of interest. And as far as the laws goes, this is regulations. These are arbitrary regulations that you had concocted, and my building material did not bother anybody. Only person who could see it, somebody who had trespassed in my backyard. So why don't you take care of the hookers that are now standing on Winton and Galbraith Road and stop bothering people who are peaceful citizens who has been living there for 32 years.
My understanding is not only has it been a problem, but your neighbors have concerns as well. And that's the only way
Who?
we normally
I've spoken to my
Normally
neighbors.
received complaints is from neighbors who are concerned about property that is not being maintained or cared for, which takes away the value of their property as well.
Well-
So there was concerns from your neighbors as well.
Who? I would like to
I'm
know
not-
the names, because I've spoken to all my neighbors, and nobody tells me that they had
I
complained.
don't think they would tell you that.
Well, then they're cowards. They should then talk to me.
Here's the thing, ma'am, the property maintenance resolutions are put into place to protect our property values, to require that people who want to be homeowners here in the township keep their property at least at some minimum standard. And you have to obey those. And
I
that's
invite you to
simply-
come and visit my house to see the standards. Because I think, especially with this backyard, I can understand that you're concerned about the front. But backyard is my business. It's none of your business how I manage my backyard, because only my next door neighbors could see what is there.
Let me add to that. Aesthetics is not the issue here. It's the issue of health and safety of the neighborhood. Tall grass nuisance resolutions have been, it's in the state code, has been there for
What
years and
safety?
years.
What's safety in the
If
neighborhood?
you have high grass, it attracts rodents, it attracts vermin. There are certain weeds which are specifically stated in the statute you cannot have in your yard. So it is a state
My
statute.
field is risk assessment in health field and environmental risk assessment. I can assure you there is no
There is a
risk
state statute that
of
disagrees
rodents.
with you.
Well, then state statute has to be changed.
And you're welcome to do that. But the
Okay, I
township
will,
has a
but I'll be
nuisance.
suing you in the court unless those building materials return, because my architect and I were going to do it in the end of July, because I've been busy up till now.
Then perhaps you should have notified the township after all the notifications came. So we can discuss it later,
All
but
notifications.
the township followed the procedure. There are notices that are given to you.
Mike,
We have listened to you, if you hold a second. There are notifications that are specified by the code. We comply with that. You were given those notifications. You were given every opportunity to move things that you felt were valuable to you. You chose not to do that. This was no surprise. No one snuck in the back of your yard and stole anything from you. You were notified for over a year that this was not compliant and it was a nuisance. The fact that you chose to do nothing about it and not to communicate with the township as to a plan of what to do. The township has worked ever since they created, well, even before I came here, the nuisance statute, have worked with every single resident in this community to clean up their property. We've bent over backwards to help people to try to clean up their property. What happened here is the very last resort. They don't want to spend taxpayer money to clean up your property. Very last resort, and only after numerous notices and attempts to reach you.
numerous notices. The only notice I got was last year, and I spoke to him and I told him that I'm doing this project and that I just have been delayed because I have many other projects that I'm doing. And it's under the roof. It doesn't bother anybody. Nobody sees it except next door neighbor who would come here if your meetings were starting a little later, because he's a working person, so he cannot come. I suggest that you start meetings at 7 o'clock so that more people who are working people can come to your meetings. But as I said, unless my building materials are returned and put back in the same place so that I can use them this summer as I intended to, together with my architect. My architect is Tom Dunn and Titus here in Springfield Township, who is also very displeased with your JEDS project, because it makes, he's probably going to leave. He's about to sell the building because he's just tired of this kind of nonsense. And we were going to do it, to experiment on my house, in which I've lived for 32 years without any problems. I'm experimenting with the grass too, because it retains more water, so that less water goes into runoff. And, you know, to have somebody come and cut my ivy, it was barbarian. You should see how pitiful it looks. The backyard now looks terrible. It looks sterile, and the compost pile shows. And, you know, your sense of aesthetics is different than mine. There was nothing, there was no garbage lying around, there was no danger, there were no vermin, And, you know, I will challenge anybody at the state or at the federal government. I used to, for US EPA, I know about health risk assessment. And I'm just tired of being harassed and being, just leave me alone. I'm doing an experiment that, if successful, is going to lead to the path for away from fossil fuels. My life doesn't burn any fossil fuels. I've managed it. Now I'm making it so that my house is as comfortable off the grid, the regular house is on the grid, so that we can stop depending on burning fossil fuels and be unsustainable. So I'm doing an experiment that very few people are able to do. I can, because I have science and engineering background. And now I'm going to deal with your regulations that tell me that my grass has to be, you know, 12 inches or lower. And my grass actually was 12 inches and lower because it didn't grow very hard. Plus, my backyard is mostly clover and ivy.
All right.
Anyway, do
Thank
as you want. If I don't get these materials back within 2 weeks, I'll be
We've
suing
heard that. We've heard that about 5 times. We've
Okay,
heard
so
enough.
you have been
Is
warned.
there anyone else who would like to address the board this evening? It appears that there is not. Do we have any other business before the board?
I have none.
Okay. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming.